Hello and welcome to a new video here on my channel at commaik. This video is the introductory video for a new project series because I will be installing a new irrigation system on this lawn. I will break down the setup into several parts and make the videos available to you one by one. In this first part, I want to introduce the project to you and present my planning. And the components I'm using, I'll also introduce those to you in this first video. If you're interested, stay tuned, we're about to get started. I created this lawn area over the past few days and weeks. In total, I spread 8 cubic meters of topsoil here, leveled and compacted it, and the grass seed has already been sown. You can see that in some spots the grass is already growing, while in other areas not much is happening yet. Clearly what's missing is water. That's why I want to install a lawn irrigation system here, and I'll take you along for the process. In this video, I'll show you how I planned the system, calculated the locations for each sprinkler, recalculated the water flow, and so on and so forth. You can see that the area isn't particularly large, but I do have a little corner here that's quite a challenge. Because here, for the first time, I'll be using Hunter's side strip sprinklers, the MP Rotators, for the narrow areas. I think you can already see quite well that my test sprinkler, which covers this small area, is already in use. Here the grass has already grown, while over here on the left side nothing has really happened yet. But enough talk, now I'll take you with me to my office and show you on the computer what I've calculated and worked out. And now I'm back here at my computer and I've already prepared my floor plan in this program. In the last video, I showed you how I calculate the area using the Gardena calculation tool. You can find the video for that below in the description. This time I want to show you how the whole thing can work with the DVS Irrigation Planner. You can find this program on the website dvsberechnung.de. The use is free of charge, you just need to register once. You also have the option to use a professional service there and have the irrigation carried out by their team. Personally, I have nothing to do with DVS, I'm not paid by them, but I have to say, this program is really well made and especially for beginners it's very suitable. In this plan, I've already manually marked my sprinklers. I've set up the irrigation zone and the piping is already planned as well. The program can calculate all of this automatically, or you can set it up manually. To show you how the whole thing works, I'll start the program from scratch on the main domain of this address. There's a nice video playing, and at the top you have the link for the free online irrigation planner. I click on that. Right at the beginning you're asked for a name, which I'll enter here now, then click Next. If you haven't registered yet, you'll need to register first. The program asks whether we want to continue with the MP Rotator or with the gear-driven sprinkler. In my case, I'm using the MP Rotator, so I click Next and I'm asked whether I want to use an existing plan or create a new one. I would like to create a new plan. I accept the terms and click on Draw New. You are taken straight to the workspace, where you can zoom in and view everything using the mouse wheel. At the top you have the individual menus, the different steps of the process from the property to the sprinklers, to the piping or irrigation status, and the piping and so on. On the left side you'll find the tools you use in the current menu. I use the freehand tool for drawing, but you can also use the rectangular or circular options. Of course, I measured the property again beforehand, and now I set the property boundaries or the boundaries of the area to be irrigated with a click and by dragging accordingly, defining the property lines or the borders of the irrigation zone. 6.10 meters, then 3.05 meters. This tool works with an accuracy of 10 centimeters. In this case, I round up to the next full 10. Then I have 4.70 meters here, and after the east path, it's 5.30 meters. Then we proceed another 2.80 meters, followed by 2.20 meters, and with a simple click on this prominent circle or the designated symbol, the entire lawn area is then completely and precisely closed. And as you can see here, a link is generated and sent to you by email. Through this link, you land directly in this model, which you have created here no matter what stage you are at. I confirm that, move the whole thing a bit so I can work with it better. You can then see here on the side that the lawn area is completed. You could also create beds and hedges using the same tool. You can define areas that definitely need to stay dry, for example, walkways and surfaces that are not actually intended for irrigation but are located at the edge and could get wet. For now, I'll just leave it as it is with the lawn areas and click Next at the top. The program now asks me whether I want to calculate everything automatically or do it manually. I'd like to show you both options. To do this, I first click on Yes, and the program gives me a coffee break, because it's now calculating the optimal positions for the sprinklers for me, as well as the different options, for example from Hunter, Rainbird or Gardena. It's already done, and as you can see here, the area has been equipped with lawn sprinklers accordingly. You have the designation an MP 800. You can see right below it 0.05 M3 per hour, so 50 liters, which this sprinkler would consume. There are quite a few of them positioned here in the upper area. Here is the MP Rotator, the MP 2000, and when I click on it with the mouse or hover over it, you can also clearly see the semicircle that this model covers. The blue zones up here indicate to me that this area is being watered very well. Below that, as you can see, there is a small lighter spot where a bit of water is missing. The overlap there isn't quite perfect. For my part, I have to say, that's not what I have in mind. For this reason, I'm simply going to delete the sprinklers now. By using this back button, they're gone, and I click next to the property again on the sprinkler. And here I have the option to place the sprinklers myself. The great thing about this program, in my opinion, is that if I now click on this sprinkler and place it somewhere here, the program automatically calculates the correct configuration for me. You can see I can now change the angle here, adjust the throw distance. In my case, I'd like to have a sprinkler down here in the corner that can spray all the way to the opposite corner. And in terms of angle, it should of course be a right angle here, because my walkway is located in this area. The program automatically calculates the MP Rotator 2000 with a 90-degree angle and a 6-meter throw distance. That fits perfectly. A second sprinkler will then go up here in the corner. Here as well, I adjust everything to fit. And here you can see a nice effect. You have a small blue marker arrow here. That's the 0 point of the sprinkler, which you basically can't change, but you can always adjust the other side. And as soon as you have areas here that can no longer be displayed, you can see it here on the right side, where an error message also appears that there is no suitable sprinkler for it. Then you'll need to see if you can place it differently or use another sprinkler. In this case, the MP Rotator 2000 starts at 90 degrees for this distance. It can't go any lower, so I'll leave it at 90 degrees. In my case, it's also not a problem if it goes a bit over the edge up here, because there's a bed border there. I'll continue working like this, and I'd really like to have a fully functional sprinkler system right here in this precise location. That was the wrong click just now. This one should water along here as far as possible. I can go right up to the corner here, and now I have a minimal overlap on my walkway. Everyone has to decide for themselves whether that's acceptable or not. If I move a little further over here so that the two sprinklers actually overlap, you can see that 1 centimeter or 2 of my walkway. I'd estimate in practice, you can also calculate this with the tool. Just under 1/2 meter of the entire walkway would be thoroughly watered here. I can live with that, or if I can't, I would have to limit the whole thing here accordingly. Here is the MP Rotator 3000, here the MP Rotator 2000, and I'll place another sprinkler down here in the corner. spraying over to this precise location here, and exactly the same process applies on the opposite side as well. Furthermore, there should also be a significant and noticeable overlap right here in this specific area. And then you can see that this area is already being watered quite well. Here in the middle, I still have a zone that doesn't get quite as much water. I could place another sprinkler here, which I would then use here. I'll drag the tool down to the edge here. If I want to overlap both sides now, I'll have to play around with it a bit here. And here, of course, I can work directly with a half circle. That means the water runs over this area onto the lawn or is sprayed there. Then this small zone up here remains. For this, I don't use the regular sprinklers, but instead I have the strip sprinklers for narrow areas. I click on it once and automatically get the middle piece, the SS, presented. At the same time, a menu now opens up here on the right side, and now I can choose here which one I would like. I'll start with the side sprinkler for the right side. The colored symbol is the sprinkler. I'll place it here in the corner. And if I now say this is spraying too far over here, I'd like to shorten it. Then you can see I can adjust the whole thing to a certain degree, but at some point you'll get an error message because it's too little upwards. Exactly, that means we'll leave it as it is. Maybe just a little lower to show the overlap. Then I'll place a second one, this time on the left. You can precisely adjust everything using this intuitive rotation circle. I'll carefully place it up here and then gently move it a bit further up as well, ensuring optimal positioning. There. And now you can see this area is being watered quite well, and the other area is also irrigated. And in total, I have installed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 sprinklers in this setup. This one here, I'm not quite sure yet if I actually need it, because if I remove this sprinkler here, then that this area down here is partially covered by that one. The sprinkler up here covers it completely, and so does this sprinkler. That means in this area alone there are 3 irrigation zones operating, and yet it still shows up as light colored. That's why I'm just going to remove it now. You have the menu on the side. I click on this little X and then it's already gone. With the next button, I can now take a look where I want to place the other elements. These are, on the one hand, the water supply, my controller, and also the valve box. For these two, the main point is that DVS will of course make you an offer at the end. So you can buy the components directly there. And for the supply line, for the connections to the faucet, and of course also for the controller. You'll find the appropriate equipment there. The faucet isn't relevant for me now, since I can connect my valve box directly. Here's another video showing you how to calculate whether the water line is sufficient. In this case, I've already made a suitable video for you. Take a look at the top right corner or down in the description. The whole thing is linked there. For the water connection, the program requires a certain capacity. In my case, that's 2.4 cubic meters per hour that the whole system can handle, which is what my water meter allows through. And as you can see here, the water volume is automatically reduced to 1.8 cubic meters due to friction losses. That means even with large pipes, you can enter whatever you want here. 1.8 cubic meters is the limit. You also have the option to choose between a below ground box, a filter, or nothing else. That's what I'm going to do now. Of course, this affects the offer you receive at the end. You can also include a pump, a cistern pump, if you are irrigating the whole system with a pump. Rainwater, drinking water, whatever you need, you can enter it all here. For example, pump water or well water would have an impact on a filter. So I have modeled or recorded the faucet accordingly. Next comes the irrigation computer. In my case, it's installed inside the house. For the placeholder, I'll just put it here next to it. Here's where it gets interesting. How many meters of cable are offered to you to connect the faucet or the valves, which in my case are in this box here, to supply or control them? You will be asked whether you want to use the regular X-Core computer or the smart controller. I already have the regular X-Core computer, so I'll keep this setting. Finally, there's the placement of the valve box. In my case, it's already on the property. I'll place it here. There's another question. Is this a box that's installed underground? Or is it a wall-mounted installation? In this case, of course, I have a valve box. So before I move on to the next step, I'll take the piping. At this point, a quick note about the sprinklers. You can see the system is suggesting the MP2000 here. Here also the MP2000, the 2000, 2000. But up here, the 3000 model and of course the side models. On Hunter's website, the link is in the description below. I've put together an overview of the irrigation sprinklers the company offers, including the MP Rotator, the standard rotator, or the 800 series for extremely short areas. The 800 series is suitable for throw ranges from 1.8 to 4.9 meters, depending on which nozzle you use. With each nozzle you can go about 20% lower than the standard, but you can't increase it beyond that. Now I'm clicking on the MP Rotator, which offers various nozzles with a throw range from 2.5 to 10.7 meters. On the overview page you can get informed, but in my opinion the specification section is where things get really interesting. In addition to a brochure for download, you have an overview of the corresponding MP rotators down here, with another overview of the key figures, and most importantly, you have a list of the individual nozzles with their respective throw ranges and angles. For example, in my plan I have the MP2000 here with a 90-degree angle. In my overview I look up the MP2000. Here I have throw ranges from 4 to 6.4 meters, which fits in terms of distance. The spray angles range from 90 to 210 theta and can be adjusted variably within that range. It can't go smaller than 90 degree, and with this model it also can't go larger than 210 degrees. The green nozzle head is also an MP2000, but with a throw range from 210 to 270 degrees. And the red one is a full circle sprinkler with 360 degrees. In my case, I have a 90-degree angle, as you can see here, 90 degree, one direction down, one to the right. It can't go any smaller if I select it. And 90 degree means we're talking about this model, 90-degree angle. The standard pressure is 2.8 bar, that's the recommended pressure, because I'm using the pressure regulated housings. These are also the housings I recommend, and you can find them below the video in the description. You can just click there and buy the whole thing. With these pressure regulated sprinkler housings at 90 degrees, you have a water flow of 1.63 liters per minute, or 0.1 cubic meters per hour. If I now click back to my drawing, you can see here 0.1 cubic meters per hour, which matches up very well. The tool shows you the individual values. I'll take another look at the edge sprayers. Here you have the 3000s again, the 3500s, and all the way at the bottom, after the corner models, there are the strip nozzles. I've installed the left strip nozzle once and the right one once as well, and you can see that at 2.8 bar pressure, an area from 1.5 to 4.6 meters can be irrigated. For this, you need 0.05 cubic meters of water per hour. The output is really extremely low and in no way comparable to the gear-driven sprinklers that I already use on my other lawns. So what did I do? I created a small Excel spreadsheet for the individual sprinklers as well as for the components that I need here. It looks like this. At the top I have my connection materials for my supply line, for the extension to the driveway, the slope, the aviary, my sprinkler circuits, everything that I want to install. I marked down how many elbows, how many adapters, T-pieces, housings, etc. I need. Below that, I entered the performance data for the MP rotator. The MP815, the 1000, 2000, 3000, and the side strip models, the corner models, the LCR and the RCR. Below that, I listed the angles that I personally will use. There you can see, for example, 90, 180, 210. I'll click back again. For example, I have the model here, here, and here, each with 90 degree. If I were to place another sprinkler here, one that sprays in a semicircle from there, that would correspond to 180 degree. And then I could read from this table accordingly that, for example, the 180 degree requires a water consumption of 6.9 liters per minute. In this Excel table, I have entered, or rather, I am now entering, the individual models that I need. I have 4 units of the MP Rotator 2000 model with a 90 degree irrigation angle. I enter these 4 MP Rotator 2000 90 degree here, and the program calculates 4 units times 1.63 liters at 2.8 bar. And just like that, I arrive at a total consumption of 6.52 liters, which I would need per minute. And again, everything in this row is summed up. Additionally, I have the MP Rotator 3000 once, as well as each of the 2 corner models once. The MP Rotator 3000 in this case also at 91 dig. And here there is only this one option which I enter as well. And you can see with the planning I have done now, I need a water output at the water connection of just under 11.5 liters, which my water connection would have to provide per minute. As you know from my other videos, depending on the daily output, I actually get at least 30 liters here. That should definitely be enough. I jump back into the calculation tool and now click on the next step, on the piping. You'll see the system will automatically lay a pipe along the sprinklers. This time it went relatively quickly. And here you have the connection from the faucet, from the water connection to the valve box. From the valve box, there is again a return flow to this yellow pipe system. With that, all the sprinklers are connected to each other. In practice, I have to say, a proper water circuit really makes sense, because the water can flow to the last sprinkler either to the right or to the left. It definitely makes more sense than having just a single line running from the valve box, which then ends at the last sprinkler. Because here you have the problem that less water might reach the end than at the first one. Thanks to the pressure regulated housings, this problem isn't as big anymore. But with the circuit, it's more or less completely eliminated. With a simple click on these yellow pipes, you can also adjust everything in a way that makes sense in practice. Because here is my garden shed. I can't dig everything up again here. That's why in this case, I have to modify things a bit. In this case, everything would go off more in this direction. And in this case, I would also have a loop. I'll click once more on my already existing plan. And here you can see I've adjusted and fine-tuned the yellow pipes a bit. By the way, this 8th sprinkler is still included here. I'll leave it in for now, even though I don't currently plan to install it. What did I do differently? This time, I didn't lay out a loop, but instead I ran a main line from my valve box, which branches off down here and supplies these 2 sprinklers, and which also branches off upwards and supplies these 3 sprinklers one after the other, and branches off here to supply these 2 sprinklers. Additionally, there will be a water line running parallel here, which will lead into my second distribution box, and a water line that will run from the valve box to the existing pipe leading up to my slope. So you can see, with this tool you can calculate everything wonderfully and easily. You get a great overview here. The system shows you how everything can work. I found the automatic placement of the sprinklers wasn't ideal in my case, but with manual placement, once you get the hang of it, it's really a great feature. The automatic selection and the display of each lawn area, showing whether it's being watered well or poorly. When I click on Next, you can see here that a quote is generated for me. It includes everything you need, including a potable water separation station, which is more or less required in Germany, but of course that also impacts the budget. This button down here might be particularly interesting for you. There you can download everything, and I'll open it up now. Then you can basically see here the area that I created. You can see the individual zones that result from it. You can see the sub-items, the irrigation areas between these sprinklers, for example these 3 meters and 7.70 meters. And the whole thing includes the piping system as well as the connection system, and then one after another the individual sprinklers are listed here. It really is explained very, very well, you have to admit that without envy. In my case, however, I have already gathered my data here using my Excel spreadsheet. I've already ordered my sprinklers. I've already ordered my nozzles and all the connectors as well, because as you know, I work with a different system than DVS. And if, like me, you also want to order everything through Amazon, then take a look down in the video description. There you'll find the most important links to the materials. And with such an Excel spreadsheet, you can easily calculate everything yourself and simply reorder as needed. I've now shown you how you can easily plan your lawn irrigation system from Hunter, Rainbird or Gardena online yourself using the DVS Garden Planning tool. You can easily calculate it yourself online with the Garden Planning tool from DVS. The corresponding links that I showed you in the video, you can find them below this video in the description. There, I'll also include the link to the playlist for this project series, because the next video is coming soon where I'll introduce the individual components to you in more detail. I'll show you which components I use, how I assemble them together, and what you need to pay attention to. There's still a little bit of time until then. Use it and leave me a comment on this video. If you enjoyed it, remember to give me a thumbs up. I'd really appreciate that. And you know, I also appreciate any feedback from you, your questions as well. I'll reply as quickly as I can. See you in the next video. Don't forget to subscribe. Take care. Bye.